Welcome to my share on this June 2025 full moon. Right now, I'm in Eastern time. It's about 1:30 p.m., so the full moon was like 10-ish hours ago at its peak. However, this energy lasts for a little bit. Maybe you're seeing this not around this timing, but maybe there's something in here for you. Technically, yes, Wednesday, June 11th in Eastern or we're in daylight time at 3:44 a.m. was the peak of this full moon. What is the name of this full moon? Well, in the northern hemisphere, we have strawberry moon, blooming moon, green corn moon, hoer moon, birth moon. I'm not going to keep saying moon. Egg laying, hatching, honey, mead, rose, and lotus. And then in the southern hemisphere, we have oak, cold, and long nights moon. It's supposed to be an apostrophe, but I put a period. And here, look at this strawberry cycle. We have a seed turning into a bud, leaves and stems, then flowers, and then these white strawberries that then turn red. The fruit then produces more seeds, and so the cycle continues. And you could say this is how a lot of life is, and yet, I'm someone who's always been like, I don't know, I feel like there's bad aliens here and they mess stuff up a little bit. And then there's another part of me that's like, maybe we are the bad aliens. So let's just continue here. Some stuff. The current moon cycle that we're in, we had the new moon on, I'm mostly sharing from my time zone. May 26th was the new moon. June 2nd was the first quarter moon. And then on the 11th, we had the full moon. That's today. June 18th will be the third quarter moon. And then there will be another new moon coming around the 25th or something like that, I think. And so I'm just highlighting the moon cycle phases, but you can do whatever you want. Like, I don't necessarily take all the frameworks too seriously, although yes, I do have my personal opinions. For the sake of sharing a video, I won't get into all of it. But the full moon in relation to the menstrual cycle, a similar mirrored sort of cycle. We have you could looking we have that you could look at okay, words. Could look at this in relation to the ovulatory phase of the menstrual cycle, which is also sometimes called the connection phase. This is when we're feeling a little different if we experience this menstrual phase. And if you don't experience your menstrual cycle, you might just feel the moon cycles relating this way. So, full moon, ovulation, or connection time. Maybe you're feeling social, maybe you're not. We're all different. And here at this full moon, we are approximately 88 days away from eclipse season, which starts September 7th, 8th-ish. Here at the bottom, I have a little table from the Mastering the Zodiac website just to give you different lenses. Because again, I don't take the frameworks too seriously, but I do enjoy sharing them. So on the 9th, we had tropical Jupiter that moved to Cancer, and this was like this big energy. And in certain parts of the world, tropical is talked about a lot more. And so I believe that based on our beliefs and our own passions, that we can really see everything in anything. And if we treat everything as alive, we don't have to take the frameworks too seriously in terms of, you could say, our left brain and language. And yet, I think it's important in this holographic plane we live in to decide and discern for ourselves how we see things, what our standpoint might be. I'm someone who I call the way I see things backwards, upside down compared to other people. But it matters and it's included. So take it with a grain of salt and discern for yourself. But we have on the 11th, of course, the full moon, and I'll be saying full moon a lot during this, but there's a harmony with Mars here. So you could look at that as like we're in the Sidereal Taurus season, so a nod to Venus. we had Venus retrograde this year. We also had Mars retrograde, which technically started at the end of last year, but also wrapped up earlier this year. So there's something to a harmony amongst harmonies. And this Friday, of course, we have Friday the 13th. There's many different ways we could go with that, but I just decided to not go into it. We have Jupiter squaring Saturn on the 15th, and I'm leaving this up here, but I'm going to come back and do another video about like the summer, northern hemisphere summer slash southern hemisphere winter, and some of the astrology coming up. So we'll leave some of this just for a little sprinkle or a dash. So Jupiter square Saturn, and the previous recent times that this aspect was active and highlighted would be August 2024 and December 2024. I just mentioned that Mars started its retrograde last year. It was in December. So another aspect on the 15th is Mars square Uranus, bringing in another layer of what we've been experiencing for a while with Uranus and Taurus. But also, yeah, you could look back to that August 2024 or December 2024 timeline and do what you will with it. Maybe there's something you want to recognize in terms of this timing of Jupiter squaring Saturn. Traditionally, Jupiter is paired with Sagittarius, but also Pisces. And then Saturn can be paired with Capricorn, but also Aquarius. In some lenses, Libra. And I feel like I'm forgetting one, but we'll just leave it there. Jupiter expansion of truth. And some people like to highlight the word lie in belief or believe. I don't necessarily, but I'm saying when we observe and acknowledge and use retrospection and hindsight to introspect. I feel like I'm just throwing out words that are kind of similar now. But, when we can take a look at our life, we can go, oh, wow, when I'm in the thick of it, when I'm like in the driver's seat and I'm like, I believe what I believe and I feel my feelings and I'm passionate, we might be blind to things that, again, if we are observant and we take a look, we change. And then when we look back, we go, oh, wow, I can't believe I was so in the thick of it, or I thought I was so right about this thing as if it were completely black or white. And I'm not here to necessarily tell you what's right or wrong or what's black or white, but what I'm saying is there's something to this Jupiter square Saturn and these different rounds of this aspect being highlighted collectively to take a look at, square is sort of like a tense energy, or it could be considered challenging, but really it's also like conscious, um, conscious transmutation. So like this isn't something that's like subtle. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it takes, oh, I forgot I got a new laptop and maybe I'll turn that off. Whoa. Whoa. But maybe the challenging part of a square is that it takes conscious effort in order to build a bridge of sorts. And so this is collective. It's not the same as if it were in your natal chart, but you could take a look at those rounds, like I said, from August and December, and then right now. Mars squaring Uranus is, another square energy, but I think it's, well, okay, in relation to my own natal chart, I'm like, I think it's pretty cool what's going on. I kind of enjoy certain conflict energies, certain energies that are like, bleh, what is that? Oh, there's like something you gotta say and you gotta confront something, face it. And it's not about fighting. It's not comfortable, but I love it for some reason. I hate it and I love it. So I feel that. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of these things. Maybe I will. Jupiter square Neptune. We have sidereal Gemini season beginning on the 20th, 21st as tropical Cancer season begins. Sun square Saturn on the 22nd, while also Mars sextiles Jupiter. So we could look at sort of like not a resolve necessarily, but another echo of the 15th on the 22nd. And then again, like take a look at your own natal chart, see what's bouncing around. Excuse me. See if there's some things maybe you want to blame. I'm okay with that. You don't have to, but I used to be in a place where I was like, I'm not going to blame anything. Who blames the moon for their behavior? And now I'm like, fuck it. You moon, you goofball. Okay, so we have Sun square Neptune. We have Jupiter conjunct or Sun conjunct Jupiter, which is also called like the Day of Miracles in some lenses, and this happens at a different time every year. I think I took some notes on that, but I don't know. Oh, is it here? Okay, yeah. So I didn't include it, but I will mention some of it. So it's Jupiter, Sun conjunct each other, can be called a cazimi. Um, this is in tropical. If you wanted to look at that Jupiter moving into Cancer energy, this is the first time this has occurred since July 2013. So another lens you can look back to if you want to. I'll be mentioning quite a few, like a handful of different years from the last 20 some years while we venture throughout these slides that I put together. So the sun, it's connected to Leo. So this is like a confidence, like the sun centers on your personality, to, maybe like an outgoing energy, not necessarily that you are outgoing, but it is like how you shine in a certain way and a certain lens that people do receive you or see you in this solar world, if you will. And then we have Jupiter connected to Sagittarius and Pisces. Like I said, we have like truth, beliefs, spirituality, adventure, risk taking. I'm coming up on my North Node return in this next month, so I'm excited to see how this all comes together in that way. So the 24th would be considered a very lucky day. But you don't have to strictly look at it that way as if you're anticipating something super lucky happening. It might come through in a different way. So be open, be creative. We have this current moon cycle wrapping up and when the new moon begins on the 25th of June. So let's continue. We have the golden and silver gates here at this full moon, even though, like I said, technically it's already passed at its peak, we're still in it. In some lenses, the silver gate is actually Cancer, but here we're looking at the silver gate of man being Orion, which is where the current sun positioning technically is. We're in sidereal Taurus, but we're in the boundaries of Orion. And I like this because this is where my Venus and Chiron are. So in some lenses, they're in Taurus, in some lenses, they're in Gemini per charts that I can generate. And I don't know all the programs. I'm more of a right brain person. I know I've got both parts, but I might come off like I make sense in certain ways, but I don't understand a lot of what's going on here. So I haven't really found charts I can generate Orion in terms of a astrological or astronomical season. But that is what my Venus and Chiron could be considered, or maybe my Venus is one and my Chiron is the other, whatever it is. I like to honor lenses of holography where I don't support Orion hate. I'm not a super fan either in terms of like having some profound big opinion based in some truth, I believe. I just, as a kid, would stare up at Orion's belt and cry about why I was here. And I would be like, take me home. Why am I here? And I don't like it here. So I like one time years ago, someone said something mean or evil or whatever. Clearly, I'm sensitive about Orion, and my immediate response, they said something about how evil and messed up it was there, and I was like, not when I lived there. So maybe you relate. But the idea is that we're coming through these ascension cycles and our soul comes into this plane, descends through this portal of, again, in some ancient texts, they would say Cancer Capricorn. Here we're honoring Orion Ophiuchus. So current sun positioning and the sun is related to gold. So the silver gate with golden energy. And then we have the golden gate of the gods Ophiuchus bounds, current positioning of this full moon, the moon being related to silver, so silver in the Golden Gate energies. This is the strawberry moon, and like I mentioned, the second slide that had the strawberry plant phase. A cognate Old English name of strawberry was Ardberg, earthberry. Feels fitting as in the northern hemisphere, we are about to experience a seasonal shift in the earth plane, summer solstice, and in the southern hemisphere, as the southern hemisphere experiences their winter solstice. So we really are just like a strawberry plant. Again, those bad aliens, though. Okay, a quick note on seasons. We have northern hemisphere summer, southern hemisphere winter. I put SE, and I'm gonna change that. Whoops. Now I don't know if I'm okay. Sorry, I'm still learning this new computer, and I maybe I need to change some settings because I don't understand why it won't let me share in certain ways. Okay. So, Southern Hemisphere winter, Northern Hemisphere summer. Oh, I gotta stop. I feel like it's too wordy. Okay, astronomically, we have June 21st to September 23rd. That's like what's typical and common to talk about. Meteorological summer and winter here would be June 1st to August 31st. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then solar or Celtic calendar wise, we have May 1st to July 31st. So just again, emphasizing that I am not here to tell you what the right framework is, but that there are many, and even look at like how tall you are. I know I had this boyfriend that was like 6'5", and I'm like 5'4", almost 5'5". And I used to make him, well, not make him, but he would do me a service of bending down and walking at my level for a little bit. And I would be like, this is how I experience the world, okay? Mind you, he would be like, this sucks. But when I was little, I'd also lay with, and I still do with my cats. And you're like, this is how you see things. I should really respect that that is like the point. Mind you, we all have connections to all these other parts of us that we can experience, eyes opened or closed, but in these physical vessels with these eyes and these perspectives, there's something to it and why we have them, but to each their own. So this strawberry moon is apparently seen by some as a symbol of love, purity, and prosperity, and the June full moon brings a desire for change, flexibility, and exploration. With this moon also being called the honey moon, we can see that in the northern hemisphere, this is the sweetest time of year, a time of a specific kind of opening. The moon was near Antares, the day prior to the full moon phase. Anti-Aries, anti-war, anarchy, synarchy, a sin arc. And the sin here is to be kind, compassionate, and considerate, apparently. It says considered, but that's it too. Hee hee, the heart of the scorpion. The full moon appears, or maybe already appeared. Look again tonight, though, if you're seeing this, although I'm a little late on all of this. I decided to wait till I got this laptop to do it. So it appears potentially or appeared as a golden orange or even red for some, and it appears very large due to the astronomical label moon illusion, and I enjoy including all sorts of terms as I encourage you to discern for yourself. What here is not an illusion? Or is not all real? Why am I speaking like that? I don't know. For this full moon phase, which has already passed but is still active, the sun aligns with Capella, El-Nath, similarly to May's full moon, like I mentioned in my last video, Regal, Rigel, I never know how to say things, and asteroid Iris. The moon aligns with Rasselhog, the brightest star in Ophiuchus, as well as asteroid Estrella. So I'm not getting into all of these lenses, but I do like to mention them. I also want to acknowledge the alignments of this moon with Stonehenge, and I will note that at first I was taking notes on this full moon from an article written years ago, and I was like, Stonehenge, blah, blah. And then I was like, what? This is from years ago. How did I not notice? And then today I see people posting pictures of the moon in Stonehenge, which I'll show. And I was like, oh, so like I'm sharing this because I will highly doubt myself about what is accurate and correct when like there is the unknown and there is something beyond it being something outside of us leading us. Like there's a part of us that is constantly not knowing of the unknown, but aware of the unknown. Sorry, I'm laughing because this camera. I'm gonna have to change that. Although it was fun. Whoa. Okay, so don't doubt yourself, but also be open to like we don't need to be like, oh, I'm so stupid. I made a mistake. Like I'm someone who thinks bad aliens are doing a lot of things here, even though I can say, am I the bad alien? So like, do you? All right, so the alignments of Stonehenge with this new this full moon, we are close to the solstice window, and the sun and moon cycles seemingly align with this point of Stonehenge. Um, so this full moon brings about a major lunar standstill. So, lunar standstill is when the moon reaches extreme positions, the most southeasterly and southwesterly points in the sky. So, its rising and setting positions stop shifting for a while and reverse in direction. And this can also be called a lunistus. This typically happens every two times a month. And for this full moon phase, though, it's considered a major in the northern hemisphere. Because every 18, I'm doing it, 18.6 years, because what's the truth? I don't know. Maybe it's all true. 18.6 years, the sun and moon's respective positioning and movement completes a full cycle, affecting how high and how low the moon appears in the sky. So in the southern hemisphere, it would be a minor lunar standstill with the lowest point or the highest point. Um, because you can tell in the northern hemisphere we're experiencing a low point, one of our lowest points. Okay, so this means that in the northern hemisphere, the moon appears at its lowest point in 18.6 years, and the southern moon, I should have just continued reading. The southern hemisphere moon appears at its highest point in 18.6 years. So 18.6 years ago would be approximately June 2006 when I graduated from high school. And this kind of aligns with the lunar nodes shifts, which I will not go into more detailed here, but you can imagine it. So the nodes in tropical recently shifted to Pisces, North Node, Virgo, South Node, and in sidereal, they are in the, depending on which sidereal lens or true sky, etc. lens, they are shifting or already have shifted to Aquarius, Leo. Right now we're in like Pisces, North Node, Leo, South Node as they shift energy. So in June 2006, they were about to go into tropical Pisces, Virgo, and they were already in Pisces, Virgo, in sidereal. So blah, 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 blah. But I just said I wasn't going to go into it, and then I did a little bit. So as you can see in the top right up here where my face is, so maybe you can't see, um, there are times of lunar standstill, so you could look at it on your own on the internets. Major standstill, November 1987. That's when I was preparing to come out of the belly, and I was not happy about being here. And the doctors, I mean, I was only like 3 months in at this point, but I was already aware. Shout out to the other womb recollectors. Okay, I'm not going to read all these dates, but basically we're looking at that June 2006 was the last major or the last minor for the southern hemisphere. And the last minor for the northern hemisphere was October 2015. So then let me continue reading without confusing. But the last, this will be the last major standstill until September 2043. Here, I will also note that we are in an apparent Yun 9 phase in relation to feng shui, so go look it up if you want to. A 20-year period that lasts from 2024 to 2043. And when I was looking up something about Yun 9, I saw a Lockheed plane called the Yun 9, which is interesting because I've looked up Yun 9 many times before and never has it popped up with this plane first. So I wanted to note it. The autocorrect when I wrote this really wanted me to be writing Sun 9, and that made me think of the ninth dimensional sun. That plane was made in 2002. And here I want to honor all as alive as research is more like a being found. In 2002, this was a major year that many of the MCEO Freedom Teachings were copyright and shared. Cathar Level 1 specifically was one of them, 2002. And then in the teachings, 2002 to 2012 is, I that's a typo where it says -10. Did it? I think my computer automatically, so it's gonna go back to my face for a second as I change this. I really need to learn how to use a Mac better, and just make certain. I think there was something else I wanted to fix a typo. There. There we go. Okay, so 2002 to 2012, you could consider a rewrite that we are now experiencing more rapidly. This is the last full moon before the solstice. So, oh, I forgot that I'm not sharing again. Hold on. Una minuto. Here we go. All right, yeah, I gotta figure this out. Okay, so um this is the last full moon before the solstice. Northern hemisphere summer, southern hemisphere winter. The next strawberry moon will be June 29th, 2026, the first full moon after the solstice. As we near the new moon phase after the full moon's show, the stars will shine once more and the June booted meteors may be visible for you. So boots, but booted sounds like booty, and that's funny to me. Okay, so where is this full moon? Astronomically, it will be spanning Scorpius, Ophiuchus, and Sagittarius with its main shine and focus in and on Ophiuchus, although I have included both Ophiuchus and Sagittarius information in this video. Um, the sun is in tropical Gemini boundaries, but true sidereal Taurus boundaries. But I would like to honor again here Orion boundaries, Silver Gate, Golden Gate, a little cosmic clock reset. There is some type of loop that is being threaded back through, and this will magnify the saturation point to a tipping point to the paradigm shift we came here for. And yet, we've only just begun. Now I will share the astro maps as well as some of that MCEO stuff like I had mentioned. So full moon, we have the sun and moon opposite, and here we have a climax, a time to release and cease. Breakthroughs, new perspectives, full exposure and illumination, synchronicities, blooming flower before the fruit, the strawberry. Shows evidence of being rewarded, engaging, space for generosity. We have a purpose, and a purpose in this life is to realize our purpose. Here at the full moon, we have big personality and a knowingness, and this occurs about 1 week after the first quarter moon and about 2 weeks after the new moon. So we're in week 3 of the moon phase cycle, and we are at day 14, 15-ish, depending on how you're looking at I feel like, is it week 3? It is week 3, but now I've confused myself. Okay, so we have perfection, completion, and conscious illumination. Is it week 3? Questions, notes. Natural polarization and no power struggles here. We're just looking at a mirror of sorts, but we have a veil of self-absorption that is lifted, where you're able to gain access to the unbiased views of others. The shadow would be narcissism, of course, where you're all, look at me, missing out on the beauty of others, blooms. And you want to be all, wow, look at you. Maybe you could be like, look at us. So questions are, do you need to be in relationship in order to see yourself? And what births true collaboration? I forget if I included those in the last video, but I'll try not to include them every time. Here is a slide that shows a chart from Mastering the Zodiac's viewpoint of, excuse me, what it says at the top, June 2025 full moon. Taurus sun, Ophiuchus moon. Oops. And this is from Genetic Matrix, as you see the logo down here. And this is more of that IAU boundary, but we still have Taurus Sun, Ophiuchus moon. Tropical 12 sign, we have Gemini Sun, Sagittarius moon. So while we're here, let's take a look at some things. We have Saturn and Neptune right next to each other. And like I mentioned, I will be experiencing my North Node return soon. So we're just into Pisces North Node in tropical. But as you see here in Sidereal, we are nearing towards Aquarius more and more. And I think maybe even closer in this map. Um, we also have Mercury and Jupiter near each other. They just were conjunct a few days ago. And so this is interesting to note. Like you putting your foot in your mouth, you saying some crazy stuff. Maybe it's a good time to say crazy stuff, though. Look around. We might be at our lowest point with the moon, the subconscious. And a cycle always shifts, but is it a line? Is it a circle? Or is it time that we position ourselves within this multidimensional, interdimensional holographic plane? So, just consider those layers of Jupiter and Mercury. And I will note that Lilith and Juno are very close. They're about 10 degrees apart right now. And this could be bringing up some layers of how you see relationships romantically and in other ways as well, given that it's over in Scorpio territory slash Libra territory, depending on the lens. And what I want to say is in the Northern Hemisphere here, well, actually in everywhere that follows the Gregorian calendar, I guess, we are in the month of June. So you see the deep layers of Juno and June and this marriage nod. Some would consider the June full moon or the month of June a month to get married and emphasize these energies. So definitely consider your own inner marriage, if you will. I don't think I'm going to read all of this, but here's the glyph for Ophiuchus in the middle, and we have a divine fire water or a water ether sign, a fresh remembrance. A sign that carries many stories when it comes to potential and acknowledged zodiac signs. Of course, with sky astrology and true sky astrology, etc., there are more zodiac signs than 12 or 13, as many more constellations are observed and included in the perspectives. Ophiuchus is considered a trine unifier, representing a fresh phase in this most recent alchemical shift along the collective ascension path, if you will. It's a mystical energy that carries an amalgam-like energy with a unifying magnetism. It's an empathetic and flamboyant archetype that carries contention and might be the spark we all need to look to look up to carry, to exercise. Physiologically, we have the amrita, the base of the brain, which is also called the golden chalice or the atomic doorway. It's also called the mouth of God or goddess. We have the cranial sacral axis, kundalini, the Leyden gland, the lunar to solar transfiguration, solar sacrum energies, tailbone or coccyx. And I like to include, like in the Sagittarius slide, the cell salts. So the zodiac and the salts of salvation approach. There's no salt connected here to Ophiuchus, so I would say like bioplasma. There is something like some gold chloride and some other approach where there are 13 cell salts, but I just didn't want to align it here in terms of technicality. You know what? I'm going to read all of these, I guess. Archetypes and themes, creatrix, pure transparent crystalline light, divine mother, A. The power of cosmic love, DNA recoding, rebirth, blood and mitochondrial cleaning, Golden Gate, Serpent Bearer, Healing Witch, Triunifier, Anti-Authority, Synarchy as well, like I mentioned. Questions. Do you allow yourself to dance and flow in a sea of memory and recollection? Can you be absorbed by it? Can you seemingly separate from it? What is logic to you? what about divine logic and sexual energy? What does it mean to you? Contemplate the social stigmas of sexual energy and freed from pejorative sexualization of such energy. What are you here to birth that is yet to be born in this plane? What do you see or do unlike any other? Be you. All right, so some of that physiology here, I'm not going to mention all of it. We're just going to allow the visuals to come in to what we need to pick up on. Activate right brain. Just included this slide, which I will do a whole probably series of videos on the autonomic nervous system. And then I did include Sagittarius, so it's mutable fire, wildfire, fire dancer, where fire becomes light. The search for truth has them breaking down borders and boundaries they might not always approach, shattering belief systems, truths versus lies, beliefs versus reality. And there's a polarity. You know, we have Gemini and Sagittarius in a tropical lens, where Gemini is like local communities, knows a little bit about a lot of subjects. Sag is into foreign communities, knows a lot about a handful of subjects. But we have here also a remembrance that a student is the teacher. We don't need these binaries where someone is above you in some way. Mind you, we can all learn, but I do feel like we already know, and there is something to allowing. Physiologically, we have the coccygeal vertebrae, the femur, the hips, the ilium, the pelvic ischium, the sacral region, the sciatic nerves, and the thighs. And in the cell salts approach, we do have the hips, the insulator, the spade, the surgeon, and the thighs. So a big nod to arrow energy here in many different ways, including the spade mentioned there, but it's also a part of our body. Archetypes and themes here are unique. Artemis Centaur archetype, love, adventure, higher learning, travel, foreign lands, educator, disseminator, spirituality, truth within, the ultimate truth, kindness, religion, practicality, lone wolf energies, sharing with community at the same time, though. Sagittarius loves to laugh. And here in the lens I don't love to look at with age archetypes, we do have the adult often paired with Sagittarius, where wisdom has been gleaned, but at the end of the midlife crisis phase, ideals are shifting. Questions, what beliefs am I holding? So like a truth versus a belief, and some say the opposite of a belief is a truth. Where can I bring more devotion into my life? Where can I live more by my truth? Where can I stand in my individualism to honor spirituality the way I alone feel it? How can I make it a point to learn something outside of self? And what can I study? Why am I here? Very personal. So more physiology, some of it repeated, but some of it newer here. But again, not gonna name every label I see here. Letting our right brain do the work, taking in what it needs to. You could say if we do work with some sort of cycles with the planets and you believe in that, maybe you don't, maybe it doesn't matter, I don't know. We go through cycles. So with the sun and the moon having these different paths where the moon makes these more uh, rapid cycles compared to the sun, there is something to the subconscious energy with the moon coming back around and physiologically connecting to these spaces and places. I really like this imagery of the like cross section of the thigh. Can't tell you why, other than I've got thighs and I like to see it. I don't know. In Sri Lanka, this time of year brings Poson Poya. I don't know how you say it, but it's a celebration of the introduction of Buddhism to the island. And so the May full moon this year was on the 12th, which aligned with something called Buddha Day, which is a celebration of the founder of Buddhism. The last full moon was also called the budding moon, when with the sun near Al-Nath, once more we recognize that Al-Nath is the butting of the bull's horns, the subconscious, the subbrain, the cerebellum. We have bellum related to war and bells ringing resounding harmonies, horns being the hippocampus. Here I will weave in some topics and ideas from the MCEO Freedom Teachings while leaving room for the unknown, as I am not here to follow any written or formalized frameworks brought in by another. I believe we should all be incredibly discerning with who and what we interact with on a deeply interdimensional level. With this full moon, like I said, I'd be saying full moon a lot, and what some may call a hive mind, we are experiencing a new flowering. From May's write-up, I noted that horns are the hippocampus, or horns as the hippocampus. I just scratched my leg and I like decapitated an ant. What does it mean? I like sometimes I'm a little too am I too? I don't know. I just think ants are important too. So I was like, oh, what is that? And then I was like, what is that? And I was like, I just cut the ant in half as I'm talking about this. What does it mean? Okay, so horns as hippocampus. Let us recollect more clearly as omniscience ignites. Let us change the story so the story perceivably and holographically changes. Taurus field or Taurus field. Other than Virgo and Pisces, the constellation of Taurus is very large, and it includes what is labeled the astronomical electrical peak of the year. We are for sure at some point, some sort of saturation point. Saturate related to Saturn, Uranus and Taurus has brought this urn of water to be filled in a way that we could have never quite imagined, but a way that we have felt our entire lives. And take what I share with a grain of salt. Another nod from the last video of these echoes that look similar to me, which is the constellation of Taurus on the right, the glyph of Taurus in the middle, and this primary visual cortex visual with the eyes that looks similar. Although this could technically be in the cerebrum aspect, it is at a certain point, and we're taking into account that Taurus rules the senses, and we have, you could say, lower and higher senses. It's important, I think, to acknowledge that. Here we're looking a bit at that Taurus energy, Taurus field. We have these moons in the northern and southern hemispheres. Whoa. This is an image from Ascension Glossary that has some of the imagery of an image that has imagery of the Golden Gate with Ophiuchus and the Silver Gate with Orion, Galactic plane, etc. Whoa, Ophiuchus Golden Gate with the moon, Ophiuchus full moon, silver, Orion Silver Gate where the sun is, Taurus sun, Orion boundaries, the sun being golden. Stonehenge. Central axis of stone circle was and still is aligned with the sunrise at midsummer and the sunset at midwinter. The stones dramatically framing the rising and setting sun when dates were at their longest and shortest. Here is a pic of the full moon from last night, like I said. And this is from Stonehenge dronescapes photography. It's pretty friggin' beautiful, even if I'm like, is that a bad alien house? The moon, you know. In the 1960s, this is when the moon was linked to Stonehenge more widely, whereas previously it was mostly linked with just the sun. Here we can also take a nod towards Arc Gate 2, Arc Grual 2, Stonehenge, UK. Living Indigos release primary seals and open the Shalaya chamber Echolota breathing tube that runs through the center of the Ark of the Covenant. The planetary diamond sun crystal body is triggered into progressive action. I believe this was a quotation from all my researching from October 2nd, 2004. There's a lot more details here. I'm just sprinkling in some random bits and pieces, and you should follow what you feel called to. Or if you're like, fuck what she is saying, that's also pretty cool. Cue Yellowstone Black Diamond Thermal Pool and the show Resident Alien returning for its new season as it echoes many of the obscure but true ideologies I have had in my life here. Haha. In 2023, I was like real stressed out about the gray aliens in Yellowstone doing something weird. And then I watched the show Resident Alien after hating on it for years. Last year I watched it and I was like, okay, so spoiler alert, sorry. But let's not get into it more. Let's look at
This
this.
video is from a new webcam at Yellowstone National Park. And wait for it,
I hope you can hear it.
that hydrothermal explosion was recorded on May 31st. The Black Diamond Thermal Pool is in Yellowstone's Biscuit Basin, where a much larger explosion damaged a boardwalk and sent visitors running on July 23rd of last year. Since then, the basin has been closed to the public, so the webcam is the only way for you to get an up-close look for now.
I don't know if you could hear that, but you could see it and you could see the captions. Black Diamond Thermal Pool. Interesting. You could go a lot of ways with that, but I'm not going to go into all of it. Okay. This is another little, oh, sorry, blurb. The July 5th, 2000 Treaty of Altair and the Anunnaki sabotage of the 9 September 2000 UK expedition. So this is from Voyagers 1 or 2. I'm sorry. I don't remember. I think it's from 2, but it could be from 1. Through the Treaty of Altair, the Anunnaki races of Orion were granted the Founders protection from the Draconian invasion if the Anunnaki legions would honor their original 1992 Emerald Covenant promises, abandon their intended Earth Dominion agendas, and immediately release the Solar Stargate 4 into the protection of the Emerald Covenant Azurite Universal Templar Security Team. In July 2000, the Anunnaki legions grudgingly agreed, and in August 2000, members of the Azurite security team gathered at Machu Picchu, Peru, to facilitate the Emerald Covenant races in the transfer of Solar Stargate 4 into Guardian Alliance Founders protection. The Peru event went smoothly, and once again, the Emerald Covenant races were hopeful that the long pending earthly final conflict drama between human Emerald Covenant and fallen angelic Anunnaki and Draconian forces could be peacefully avoided. The Solar Stargate 4 transfer to Guardian Protection was to be completed in September 2000 during an event scheduled to take place at Stonehenge, England. The location in Earth's Templar, to which the Nibirian battle star and artificial planetary alignment with Nibiru are anchored. As per the Treaty of Altair, the Anunnaki races agreed to secure their many ley line holdings in England from Draconian race interference so that the members of the Azurite Templar security team could gain safe passage to England to complete the final transfer of Solar Stargate 4 into Guardian protection. Like I said, that's just a blurb. And one thing I want to note and why I especially say to use your discernment is, like I said, I'm a freak. I'm a freak who talks about bad aliens my whole life, and finding these teachings just confirmed stuff. However, I knew about some of this stuff as a baby in the 90s slash late 80s. Eisha and others who share these teachings will talk about how they had no idea the year 2000 was going to bring blah, blah, blah. And so I just invite you that we come as humans for whatever this current time space is in generations, and no one is born as a blank slate, even if they go through this memory wiping stage. So if you're not familiar with these teachings at all, you might be like, what? And if you don't know and you're like, huh, I could share some things with you, just let me know. But also if you do know, like you have your own opinions on it as well, and maybe you need someone like me to let you know that I was born in 1988. I've known since age 1 a lot of what I came here to do. Have I done a lot of it? Yes and no. Yes, because I've done a lot of things where I'm like, I'm proud. No, in terms of, I feel like the biggest issue sometimes here is not caring what other people think about what you're doing and actually doing what you want. So, yeah, I think a lot of us were born later than the people who mainly brought a lot of these teachings in for this current time space. You could say they're in their 40s or 50s, not like, oh, they're old, but no, I'm in my 30s and I know I'm not the only person who knew about a lot of this stuff before they did. And it, not like, oh, I know it all. And no, we are not all experiencing the same thing. And I actually am quite offended by the way a lot of these teachings have been brought through. And yet I can humble myself and be open to them and share certain things that tickle my fancy. So some MCEO keylontic science notes. Buddhism. June 2025 full moon is also called the lotus moon, bud cells, lotus bud breath, Buddhaic body, Buddhaic mind, 11th chakra, D11, also known as dimension 11. The 11th auric layer would be the Buddhaic body, and the Buddhara virus, Shantar EL, etc. So I'm going to read some of these things and then head out. So this is referenced from the Festival of Light workshop in 2006 and something from 2004, the the Aeoni, Adonai, and Adonai councils. So these are fallen beings who are on the Le Ador A side of our Akasha system. This Ekaveka system was in fact rebirthed in an effort to assist the Buddhara. The gravitron, a part of the beast machine, was first seeded in density 3, 570 million years ago by the Buddhara Metatronic races and continued by the Thetans. The UIR under the new administration of the Buddhara Shantariel races from parallel Alpha-fallen fields have been systematically setting in motion a series of Buddhara Wesak wormhole links that are intended to merge and awaken the ancient Wesadek and Buddhara pin systems that were independently seeded by these groups prior to the Seeding One electric wars. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Remember that if you have these other dimensional identities and you've lived other lifetimes, etc., that you had a whole experience that might not have been included in whatever the collective story is. And it's important that you follow that. Follow yourself, is what I'm saying. During the Electric Wars period long ago, the Buddhara races had attempted direct engagement with the Earth drama of the time with the utilization of a Gaian Orion wormhole network originally created by the Omicron Draconians during the Gaian Orion Wars before the Tarn drama and Earth's fallen density 1 to density 1. The Buddhara gained control of this inter-universal Gaian Orion Omicron network during the Gaian Wars and later attempted to utilize it for Earth invasion during the Electric Wars period 5.5 million years ago. The Buddhara's invasion attempt 5.5 million years ago was prevented by the collaborative efforts of the Ayane, Adonai councils, who together implemented the construction of an inter-universal gating system known as the Polarian Matrix. Before intentional editing and distortion at the hand of fallen angelics and corrupt human power elite, the teachings of every traditional religious system of Earth, from Christianity to Buddhism and indigenous tribal oral tradition, originally emerged from the retranslations of the Mahabharata texts and CDT plates, the Cloister Dora Torah plates. So I'm talking about some terms and stuff, again, that you might not know. And you don't have to, especially if you don't want to. The Dolar or dollar matrix is the avatar or Mahara identity levels stationed in dimensions 10, 11, 12, and composed of the frequency bands of those dimensions, a part of the higher self, if you will. The triadic identity, the avatar identity, Dolar matrix of the harmonic universe 4, that includes the Christiac mind, D10, the Buddhaic mind, D11, and the Nirvanic mind, D12. Collectively, this is called the metaconscious mind, and it represents the galactic mind matrix or solar logos. The integration of our avatar identity represents the true meaning of Christed consciousness. The avatar identity or Dolar matrix is the portion of the multidimensional identity that corresponds to the Maharahova body of harmonic universe 4, contains the Christic mind of the 10th dimension, the Buddhaic mind of the 11th dimension, and the Nirvanic mind of the 12th dimension, and exists in a pre-matter liquid light state of density. So I have the references up in the corner because none of this is my information. So there should be quotations around it, but I also tried to tag that as much as possible so you know where I'm sharing it from. And we have a little bit on the Earth drama. So I know it says Bodhara at the top, but it's not necessarily just that. So I'm not going to read all of this. What did I want to read though? So we know we have this like one world order that the Anunnaki has been invested in because they want to seize the halls of Amenti stargates. I want to note that a lot has changed since then. Not that everything's good and fine and well, but there is something to the story changing anyway. I'm just going to read the last one here. If angelic humans are not present on the planet and do not successfully complete their intended role during stellar activations or cycles or Stargate opening cycles, the Earth's damaged planetary shields cannot synthesize the infusion of interdimensional frequencies from Earth's opening stargates. In this event, Earth's electromagnetic fields reverse polarity and the planet enters pole shift during stellar activation cycle. Engaging the Gods' Languages Module Handbook. Fear, the pleasure pain principle, and disinformation are the common control elements by which Illuminati and humans become easily misled into surrendering their power to something outside of themselves. Once this outside source has your power, compliance with the approval of that source becomes implicitly the only way to feel empowered. The reality of our present drama means that there are hoarders of amnesiac Illuminati sleepers, human greeting teams, and just everyday people that are presently the unsuspected victims of astral tagging, targeted psychotronic mind control, or DNA bond possession. So, interestingly enough, like I said, I've been talking about a lot of this stuff my whole life. I didn't have all these terms, and I don't necessarily agree with all the things, but I'm not here to tell you to believe me and not them. I'm mentioning this because I do believe that there are these things going on with all of us that we are unaware of. And we should be incredibly mindful of the ways through which we feel versus how we are stimulated, if that makes sense. I did include the poison apple here. So part of the BST or beast machine that holds the tilt of the planet Earth at 23.5 degrees at the 23.5 degree angle and is becoming aligned with the natural Earth staff. I feel like I read that kind of funny. This was first seeded in density 3 by the Metatrons, the Budhara Shantarel. So I just wanted to include, like, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I just had these words and things come to me as I was writing the Buddhist stuff and the Lotus stuff, and it all kind of came together because I let it. So this was continued by the Thetans, the gravitron vortex networks linked to between our sun and Earth, twisting the Tauran upside down in an unnatural configuration called demon seed or metatronic coding, which, who knows what's being healed or has already been healed. The planetary Rushata or Rushate spiral is harnessed and turned into a set of vortices called the gravitron, which creates an unnatural artificial gravitational field on this planet and is one of the things that one has to override in order to levitate or fly. The gravitron is an electromagnetic harness field that is a part of a larger electromagnetic harnessing structure called the NDGC net that anchors at a particular angle in Mexico through the Mayan temples, kicking more storms since it has been progressively activated. I'm smiling because I did a reading for my cats last year, and my one cat, the woman, said that he was a Mayan or Aztec temple cat and that she's never met one. She's only met Egyptian temple cats, and he's just different. You could say my other cat, my black cat, is more Egyptian temple cat energy in the shadows in certain ways. And Bob, my Mayan temple cat, he moves differently. So it's like that energy I said earlier, where even when there's conflict or confrontation, there's a part of it that I like because I know what it leads to, even though it feels so shitty in certain ways. You can learn to love that shit though. Um, if you want. So what else was I gonna say here? Oh, that when I was very little, when I was 1 year old, I had this experience and I was like, "Ugh." The bad aliens put a net around the earth and I could see it. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm aware of this at age 1. Like, I am going to be traumatized by this. And I was. But without going into my whole thing, I want to continue here. But just to say that I'm okay with sounding crazy. All these gravitron vortices doing the wrong thing generates what is called the poison apple, which is a configuration of energy that holds the 23.5 degree tilt on the Earth's planetary axis or staff. The Hara line. These are the black hole technologies that were orchestrated on purpose by which this planet has been improvised for quite a long time, or by which this planet has been imprisoned, not improvised, imprisoned for quite a long time. And then I highlighted that this workshop that this was quoted from was from 2006, that major minor lunar standstill nod energy. The word crystal and crystallization are drawn from the first set of 7 vibrational encryptions to emerge into audible outer expressions of consciousness cells, sound cells from phasing of the inner hub Adon bud cluster, the bud Aaz of the inner monadic first eternal life creation of the 6 primordial outer tones. I'm not great with reading words and how they should sound, so bear with me. I pretend I said that at the beginning. Karayasatahala are known as the Kristhala of the Ea, first great void, or the Kristalla, the tonal core of outer first creation. FBMs, the frequency breathing movements modality or logos system. So logos. You got low gas or logos? Are you being encouraged to move the frequency of your breath in certain ways? It's a simple and necessary means by which all personal preparation for personal morphogenetic field clearing, healing, PBIS development, and Shields Clinic's Templar Flame Keeper impacts can be maximized. All technique practice can be potentized, and all personal, interpersonal, and planetary healing and host field involvement can be more fully and effectively realized. The low Ga FBMs should be utilized as a complementary accelerator in conjunction with, not as an alternative to, all linking sequence and Cathara level 2-3 techniques. So I'm referencing this system of teachings. In other words, regular use of frequency breathing movement modalities accelerates the expression and effect of crystal body alignment via stimulation, clearing, and charging of axiom, meridian, radis, and nadis lines, DNA templates, signets, and embodies chakras in direct co-resonance response to and with crystal body lotus points, that lotus moon nod. The principle of Loga combines the utilization of lotus bud breathing and flame of raw currents with specific breathing, directional flow awareness within the physical body vehicle, coupled with anatomical stretching, targeted stimulation, which together facilitates accelerated dissolution and progressive transmutation of past, current, and future miasmatic Shona, STF, detritus crystals in the key anatomical areas, like the tailbone area, which houses the first cell etheric ducts, Cathara 2 signet center, thus facilitating more rapid and effective field frequency accretion and field frequency holding capacities, increasing personal stamina and spiritual potency in relation to increasingly effective engagement with Eka, heliotalic, primal life force currents, application effects, application and effects, period. Low-Ga FBMs presupposes conscious utilization of the physical body vehicle and its intrinsic energetic potential. The action of FBMs begins and ends with the kind of mental posture which reflects the significance of such applied understanding that produces a new reverence for the physical body vehicle, its intrinsic and vital utility in maximizing the personal PBIS Templar effect and the ability to re-engage our eternal life potentials, divine intention, and our biological readiness to respond to sudden Stargate evacuation notice, should such a scenario prove necessary. So I'm done now with reading all these things that I didn't really fully get into, but I'm going to share some visuals and some last little bits and wrap this up here. So this is from that level 2 Cathara energy. The text is a little bit blurred there, but I just wanted to give you a snapshot. And again, call in our right brain energy that can translate a lot of this for us and doesn't need all the technicalities, but remembers. And you could even imagine, instead of looking at this for reliance, you could use these terms and frameworks and ask to see them yourself. Like, show me the morphogenetic chakras at the thymus, or show me this crystal star seal at the S3 yellow star. And there's a lot of things, like I said, you might not know here. Maybe you're already familiar. Maybe you are just interested in some way. And so look into it for yourself or reach out if you would like something. This is that PBIS, um, PBIS. As the morphogenetic field of species are interwoven into the larger morphogenetic field, so morphogenetic field is also an instruction set of the planet they inhabit. There is a direct energetic connection between the Cathara grids of individuals and that of the planetary body. This connection between personal and planetary Cathara grids is called the Planetary Biofeed Interface System, PBIS. So again, not going deeper here, but allowing this imagery to set forth, if you will. Here's another little breakdown, and I guess I accidentally have some numbers at the top from something. That's interesting in the screenshot here. So lots of fours and fives and sixes. So maybe we're supposed to look at this Alfie-Hova body, the Duratic shield, which in 2024 had a definite major shift, but we also have the astral body, the archetype body, and the angelic body. This is a big point of how we're experiencing dimensions one, two, and three, as if we were looking down at our own selves from the four, five, six, and then we are in this physical body. Sometimes we might even feel, though, like we're up somewhere else. But like I said, I'm not going deeper into this, but including some of these snapshots of what I was talking about when it comes to universal mechanics, interdimensional frequencies, and this framework of the MCEO Freedom Teachings. So this is some Eatia or Ashiana and etc. Azurite Press. Mostly the teachings from 92 to 2012. Maybe 97, I don't know. I wanted to leave these here, the attitudes of responsibilities and mastery, and then two of the so these are the attitudes and these are two of the responsibilities. So this is just a part of the teachings that I think is simple and easy, and clearly you see 2002 was highlighted, so I was just looking through trying to connect to that 2002 energy that I'd brought up before. So we have love, grace, gratitude, reverent respect, responsibility, trust, accountability, impeccability, mindfulness, fearlessness, and I'll read the last two. Engaged attachment, permitting the all oneness to be without assigning critique, condemnation, or value judgment. Understanding the isness and validating the all oneness. And 12, joy, choosing to be the embodied all oneness. I feel like that's what we're here to do. Things have gotten to this point where if you ask a question or say something wrong, people act like you're a moron or it's shocking or you're stupid or you're wrong, whatever. And I just think there's a lot more going on here. I'm going to read just one of these, I think. No, I'll read both. Conservation. Conservation is a form of respect and appreciation for God source energy in all of its expressions, from conserving and protecting our natural resources to being attentive to the needs of our bodies, to using the energies of our words and actions with gentle conservation, okay, with gentle conservation by which we freely use what is needed, but not more. God source continually recycles its energies for the rebirth of new expression. All is given freely, but no thing is valueless or wasted. Conservation demonstrates that we have respect and appreciation for the gifts of creative energy that God Source has provided to us. As we learn to use this energy in all its forms with respect and clear intention, we will progressively fine-tune our ability to create that what we desire, and in this process, assist all other beings to do the same. There is truth in the old saying, waste not, want not. If everything we perceive in our hologram of life is understood to be the manifestations of God's source, we might all employ a bit more respect and appreciation and conservation towards the use and applications of the energies of the divine. So that was number 10, and this is 11 of those responsibilities of mastery. Cooperation or diplomacy. Existence is and will always be a co-creative endeavor. We must be willing to allow other beings the fulfillment of their needs and desires if we hope to have our fulfillment known. Creating win-win situations and creating with the intention of giving genuinely are always our natural ways of being. We might not always agree with the intended creations of others, but we all have a right to our points of view. Diplomacy can be a bridge between forces of opposition, through which effective actions or decisions can be reached to mutually support each perspective. We can learn to agree to disagree respectfully, so the spiritual art of cooperative co-creation can progressively evolve to higher levels of expression. I believe this Ophiuchus full moon encompasses with the Taurus/Orion energy or with the Gemini Sag energy and tropical, this energy. So I encourage you to trust in your path, to follow your spirit, and to be your soul. And then I can't do it because I haven't figured out how to exit and it keep recording, but I was going to slide the different visuals here so you could see what I put. But this is the Taurus field, like a donut that I showed earlier. And then you have a set of owl eyes, and then behind that, cat eyes. Sometimes those visuals are used, especially owl eyes, as a relation to the Taurus field. You know, there's a lot there. And they have tubular eyes, but yeah. Thank you. Happy full moon. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.